Hi, past, present, and future homeowners. Welcome back to another episode of the Property Buyer's Guide. I'm your host, your homegirl, Justina. Today, we're diving into an essential aspect of property ownership, property valuations. Whether you're buying, selling, or investing in real estate, understanding the value of property is crucial. Joining me today is Mr. Simson Angula, Property Valuations Manager at FNB Namibia, who will walk us through the ins and outs of property valuations and help us understand their importance. Thank you for joining us, Simson.
Thank you for having me, Justin.
To kick things off, can you explain to us what a property valuation is and why it is an important part of the property buying and selling process?
Right, thanks. A lot of times, sellers and buyers do confuse the selling price or offer price of a property with the property value. So, and these are two actually different aspects of a property. A selling price is normally an amount that is estimated, roughly estimated, by the owner of the property or maybe the estate agent, just to inform or to give an idea of how much the property can be put on the market. Whereas the property valuation is really a professional approach to determine what is the monetary worth of the property, and that is done by a qualified individual who goes out and have a look at this property, look at its characteristics of this property, also take into account the dynamics of the property market, and that's how they analyze and get to actually to value the property.
Okay. So Simson, are you saying that a property can only be valued by a qualified valuer?
That's correct.
Why is it then important in the home buying and selling process?
Yeah, property valuation is very important in the process of buying or selling the house because firstly, for the buyers and the sellers, it serves as a very good tool to indicate as to how much the buyer has to give to the seller in exchange of the investment that he is making, and also just for the buyer to receive a fair price of the return of his investment. And that is from the perspective of the buyer and the seller. But also from the bank perspective, it is very important because it's the property value that serves as a security for the loan for which the bank is extending to the buyer. So it's very important that in the event that the buyer is unable to repay back the loan, there is no risk that the bank can lose on the loan that they've extended.
So are you saying that the property or the loan rather that I'm taking cannot exceed the value of the property that I'm purchasing?
Yes, that's the practice. Normally the bank would not extend a loan higher than the value of the property. Okay.
So once the property is valuated, I should ensure that my loan amount doesn't exceed what that property is valued for. Or rather, should I say, I'm actually not going to get a loan that exceeds the amount of the valuation of the property?
It's both. It serves both purposes.
Okay.
It's actually, like I said before, you should not pay more than what it's worth, and the bank will not extend more than what it's worth.
Okay. So Simson, can you please walk us through the typical steps involved in a property valuation from the moment it is requested until the report is produced, and how long does this process typically take?
The process actually starts with the after the pre-approval, then a valuation will be requested. Now, when the valuation is requested, it's assigned to a property valuer who is deemed to have the necessary knowledge to undertake such a valuation assignment. The bank utilizes sometimes internal valuers, sometimes external valuers, depending on the location where this property is situated.
Sorry, just to interject there, can you explain to us between an internal and external valuer?
Yeah, an internal valuer is a valuer that is employed by the bank, whereas the external valuer is an independent valuer who is contracted and is assigned to work from time to time.
By the bank as well?
Yeah.
Understand, okay.
Yeah, so the steps will now involve receiving that request, assigning the request to the valuer, and then the valuer will obviously contact the contact person to make an arrangement for inspection for the property, where now the valuer will go to the property, inspect the property, take all the details in terms of the room counts, for example, the condition of the property, the fittings and all that. Then after that, they will now go back and collect other data that is mostly market related data, just in terms of the comparable sales, and analyze that information, produce a report which they then have to submit to the valuations manager for quality assurance. And if there's any queries regarding the market value that the valuer has determined, then it's discussed. And if the manager is happy with the quality, it's signed off. So basically, there are checks and balances in terms of the final outcome of the valuation.
Okay.
Yeah.
And how long does this process take on average?
It really depends on the type of property and where the property is situated. On average, it takes between 2 and 3 days. That is for houses, for example, but for complex assignments, maybe a commercial property, a hotel, or maybe a filling station can take even up to 5 days. And also for properties that are situated in far-reaching towns, can also take between 5 and 7 days.
Okay, so it's not too much of a lengthy process.
No.
Okay, so you made reference to in your answer earlier between internal and external valuators, or valuers rather, should I say. And there's quite a common misconception, if I can say, that there's a difference between a bank valuator and a private one. Can you shed some light on that, if there's a difference and what that difference would be?
Yeah, there is no really difference because at the end of the day, it's a valuation that is performed by a professional who's trained and has got the methodologies and have got standards to approach the assignment. So there should really be no difference whether it's an internal valuer or it's a private valuer.
So as I said, it's a misconception. It's not true. Ideally, the thinking is that the valuation should not be the same, or at least that both entities would go through the same methodology to valuate a property.
Yes. A lot of time also, you have made reference to a bank valuer and a private valuer, but also sometimes make reference to a bank valuation and a private valuation, almost the same misconception. And if I stated is that whether it's a private valuation or whether it's a bank valuation, as long as it's done by the same person, it should actually yield this very same results in terms of the market value. The only difference is really just the initiator or the requesting authority, whereby if it's a private valuation, is initiated by an individual, whereas when it's a bank valuation, it's initiated by the bank, but the methodology, the approach and everything should be the same. But obviously, any property that is valued by two different people, remember, evaluation is an estimate. There's a lot of judgments, personal judgments that also goes in there. So obviously you will have a slight difference in the final value. But in terms of the standards, it should not be more than 5 to 10% variance. So anything that is between 5 to 10% variance is still considered acceptable. And so but anything that is beyond the 10%, and obviously
you'd have to reassess and get that
there
application.
will be questions as to why the variance is.
Okay, no, I understand. Thank you very much. You made that very clear and cleared up that very common misconception. Thank you, Simson, for the insights on property valuations. For anyone buying or selling, understanding the value of the property is key. So see you next time on the Property Buyer's Guide.